Om Sri Ramakrishna Namaha. Dear devotees, today we are celebrating Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna's the birthday Tithi Puja. The actual date, Tithi Puja day, was the 4th, and we have observed that in our new building, Home of Harmony. And today we are celebrating. The devotees will come, they will enjoy. And first, I will request you to join me to offer pranam to Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. The paper that he has given to you, you will find in the next second page. It is page number 1. I think. You can repeat after me the pranam mantra. Niranjanam nityam anantarupam bhaktanukampa dhrita vigraham vai Ishavataram Parameshamidyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namamaha. The one who is completely free from any desire and obviously not having any form, has taken the form, and this time as Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, in compassion with the devotee. See, he loves devotees, he loves those people who loves God. And we offer our pranam to that God. And who is he, what he did? Next pranam mantra. Sarva dharma sthapakastam Sarva dharma swarupakaha Acharyanam Mahacharyo Ramakrishnayate Namaha. Ramakrishnayate Namaha. Sarva dharma sthapakastam. They have two meanings. The dharma means the responsibility. So in different time in our life, we take different type of responsibility, and that is the dharma. As a dharma as a son or daughter, dharma as a husband, wife, dharma as our professional way, like so all the responsibilities are dharma. And he practiced those two. And also the different paths that leads to the God, that is also dharma. And this is the uniqueness, this is the first time in the history of the spirituality, history of the religion, that someone has followed all the different paths, and then he said all paths are leading to the same goal. The sarva dharma sthapakastam, sarva dharma swarupakaha. He has become the embodiment of that. He is the greatest teacher. We bow down at his feet. Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarva dharma swarupine avatar varisthaya Ramakrishnayate Namaha. Next we will have the dhyana. Dhyana means we are meditating on the Supreme Lord who is actually inside our heart. The consciousness that all of us are having, that is He. So we will remember that consciousness within our heart and in the form of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. Hridaya kamala madhe rajitam nirvikalpam sadasadakhila bhedatita ekasarupam prakriti brikriti shunnam nityam anandamurtim bimala paramahamsam Ramakrishnam bhajamaha nirupamamati sukshmam nisprapancham niriham gagana sadrishamisham sarvabhutadhibasam trigunarahitam Satchit Brahma Rupam Varenyam Bimala Paramahamsam Ramakrishnam Bhajamaha Vitaritum Avatirnam Jnana Bhakti Prashantihi Pranaya Galita Chityam Jiva Dukkha Shahishnum Dhrita Sahaja Samadhim Chinmayam Komalangam Bimala Paramahamsam Ramakrishnam bhajamaha. Pranaya galita chittam jiva dukkha ashahishnu is the God. How we can say He's God? Because He has so much of love. Love for the ordinary people, love for the being. The why He is thinking that this being, they do not know the main source of joy. They are constantly pursuing in the wrong places. They are thinking they will get the eternal joy in this temporary world. And that is why the God Himself has come down into this form. And 1836 at Kamarpukur, the unique child was born in a Brahmin family, and that is Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. I will now request Bharadananda ji to take up.
Good morning and welcome to the puja. Four of our close devotees are going to read episodes from the life of Sri Ramakrishna. And the first speaker will be Charles Davis. So Charles Davis's full name is Charles Darwin Davis. It exemplifies his father's dedication to the theories of evolution. His father was an elementary school teacher and an evolutionary biologist employed by the Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago. When Charles graduated high school, he was not ready to choose a career path, and so he joined the U.S. Navy for 4 years. This tour of duty allows him to attend the University of Illinois, which led to his career as a high school English teacher. While at the University of Illinois, Charles studied Raja Yoga with Swami Nirmalananda Giri, a disciple of Sri Anandamayima. Once Charles was employed in the Chicago area, Swami Nirmalananda Giri recommended that Charles become acquainted with the Vivekananda Vedanta Society. Taking that advice, but knowing nothing but the address, Charles, with his wife and daughter, arrived at the door of the Hyde Park Temple on a warm Saturday afternoon and were greeted by Swami Vivekananda, who gave them a brief tour and encouraged them to return for regular Sunday services. So began Charles's decades-long relationship with Vedanta. Early in Charles's career as a teacher, he became dispirited and thought that he should change professions. But Swami Bhashananda assured him, saying teaching was as good a profession as one can easily develop sattvic qualities through it. The Swami would encourage him and also other devotees to visit what would become the Michigan retreat. Things have changed a great deal since then. There are no longer bake sales to raise extra needed money, and Brahmachari Ganesh of the bookstore he knew is now Swami Vardhananda. So we invite Charles Davis to speak.
Restroom. He's probably going to use the restroom.
He's going to do what?
No, he's gone to the restroom only.
Oh, okay.
So somebody else maybe.
Oh,
can
Charles
come.
is.
Yes, restroom.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. He's going to. Okay. Well, let me see. He is not here now. So let me introduce then our second speaker. Is Suptimoy Lahiri is a civil structural engineer by profession. After graduating in 1971 from the Shibpur Bengal Engineering College, He worked a few years in Calcutta. He was transferred to the U.S. in 1979. After coming to the USA, along with full-time job responsibilities, he also earned his master's degree in structural mechanics from Washington State University in 1987. He came to Chicago in 1976 after staying in Pennsylvania, Washington State, Tennessee, and Florida. Supti and his wife Durga were initiated by Srimad Swami Chidananda Maharaj in 1997 at the Chicago Hyde Park Ashram during the auspicious occasion of Mahashivaratri. Swamiji told them that Sri Ramakrishna had got hold of you and you have to work for him. From that point on, Swamiji assigned him many tasks and he tried to perform those to the best of his ability. Because of his engineering background, he was assigned to various ashram maintenance and new temple construction projects. Swamiji put him into the team of architects and project coordinators for the new temple construction in Homer Glen. In 2013, Swami Chidanandaji retired and Swami Ishatmananda took charge of the center. Supti still continued to be involved in many tasks and assignments. In Supti's own words, I was privileged to serve on the maintenance work for Ganges Ashram and the new renovation of Nivedita Nivas and the Home of Harmony in Chicago City. So now Supti is going to read one of the episodes of the life of Sri Ramakrishna. Wait. Oh. Okay, no, wait. So, okay, so Charles Davis, he's here now, so he's going to read.
Thank you. I'm reminded of Swami Vivekananda in Chicago, who used to say Vedanta was the disorganized organization. On a Shrivaratri night, arrangements were made for a dramatic performance in the village at the house of Sitanath Pine, the theme chosen being a chapter from the life of Shiva. It is customary on such occasions for the devotees of Shiva to fast the whole day and keep vigil by prayer, worship, and songs in his praise. 4 services are held in the 4 watches of the night. Young Gadadhar also fasted that day and resolved to pass the night at home in worshiping the Lord. The first watch was over when Gaya Vishnu and some other friends came to him and said that his presence was needed at once at the house of Sitanath Pine, because the man who was to play the principal part, the role of Shiva, had fallen ill at the 11th hour, and they must have a substitute, and Gadadhar had been selected. Gadadhar at first declined, saying he could not leave his worship, but his friends pointed out that there, in playing the part, he would have to think constantly of the Lord Shiva, and that too was worship. So Gadadhar was prevailed upon to go and was taken to the green room. Smearing his body with ashes, matting his locks, and hanging Rudraksha beads and other accessories of the costume on him, his mind soared far from the consciousness of the world. When the time came for him to appear, he went on the stage with slow and measured steps, supported by his friends. His countenance was grave, and as he stood before the spectators, he seemed to be the living impersonation of Shiva. The enthusiasm of the audience was unbounded. In the meantime, the boy had completely lost himself in the divine glory of Shiva. His mind, in its transcendental flight, was supported into regions of calmness and serenity as immutable as the Lord Shiva himself. The different phases of the glory of Mahadeva, the god of gods, were revealed to him. Calm, sweet, self-forgetful, and oblivious of the pains and pleasures of the world, the great God appeared before him as the ideal of serene contemplativeness, immersed in samadhi. There the boy stood, lost in the great sublimity of Shiva, dead to the surrounding world. The manager of the performance, with one or two elderly men of the village, approached him and found that he was unconscious. He would have been taken for dead but for the stream of tears flowing from his eyes and the radiance of his countenance. The effect of this scene upon all pious hearts among the audience was tremendous. Finally, his friends became alarmed and tried to restore him to consciousness, but in vain. The performance had to stop. He was taken home in that condition and did not recover outward consciousness till the next morning. Such trances became rather frequent thereafter. While meditating or listening to a devotional song, his mind would be withdrawn from outside objects and remain long in a state of absorption. When questioned about this, the boy said that meditation on any deity brought the real form before his mind, and the emotions evoked thereby caused him to lose outward consciousness. His mother and relatives were at first very much concerned at these trances, but the boy's unimpaired health and bodily vigor gradually set their minds at ease. Though he was often thus overpowered, there was no interference with his daily routine. He took great delight in all the religious ceremonies of the village, deriving equal pleasure from the worship of all forms of deity without distinction. This impartial love enabled him in the long run to realize that the same divinity was behind all images and religions.
Namaskar. I am reading a couple of paragraphs of Sri Ramakrishna's first vision of Divine Mother. These paragraphs are taken from Life of Sri Ramakrishna. The book is published by Advaita Ashram. Let me start the background in a brief description of where and when it took place. At that time, young Sri Ramakrishna was called by the temple authority and the other employees as Choto Thakur. This Choto Thakur was the priest of Mother Bhavatarini, Divine Mother Kali. The temple garden is located on the east bank of River Ganga in a village called Dakhineshwar, about 20 miles from the city of Calcutta. By now the topic, this is the paragraph taken from the book. The realization of God. The vision of Divine Mother became the one passion of Sri Ramakrishna. Strange was the method of worship by this wonderful devotee. The singing of devotional songs composed by such devotees as Ram Prasad and Kamalakanta of Bengal was one of its salient features. They seemed to open the floodgate of his heart, and he would weep profusely like a child, sore at heart at the separation from the mother. O mother, where art thou? reveal thyself to me. Ramprasad saw thee and obtained thy divine grace. Am I a wretch that thou doesn't come to me? Please, pleasure, wealth, friends, enjoyments, I do not want any of these. I know I only want to see thy mother. Tears flowed continuously from his eyes. The day would pass when the peal of evening bells in the temple announced the close of the day. He would become sadder still and cry, "Another day is spent in vain, Mother, for I have not seen thee." Another day of this short life has passed, and I have not realized the truth. He would often rub his face against the ground in his agony. His plaintive moans would attract crowds of people who whispered to one another, "Poor young man, has he really lost his mother?" His pathetic cries move one to tears. In another mood, he would sit before the image of Kali and say to her, "Art thou true, mother, or is it all fiction of mind? Mere poetry without any reality? If thou dost exist, why can't I see you?" In religion, then a fantasy or a mere castle in the air. Scarcely would these words pass his lips when in a flash he would recollect the lives of Ramprasad and other devotees who actually saw God in this very life. She can't be a mere freak of human imagination, the young worshipper would think. There are people who have actually seen her. Then why can't I see her? Life is passing away, one day is gone, followed by another, never to return. Every day I am drawing so much nearer to death. But where is my mother? The scripture says that there is only one thing to be sought in this life, and that is God. Without Him, life is unbearable, a mockery. When God is realized, life has a meaning. It is a pleasure, a veritable garden of ease. Therefore, in pursuit of God, sincere devotees renounce the world and sacrifice their lives. What is the life worth if I am to drag on a miserable existence from day to day without tapping the eternal source of immortality and bliss? Thoughts like this would only increase his longing and make him redouble his effort to realize God. Referring to this tremendous thirst of God, Sri Ramakrishna would often say to his disciples later on, "Oh, what a day's suffering I passed through. You can't imagine my agony at the separation from mother. That was only natural. Suppose there is a bag of gold in a room and a thief in the next with only a thin partition between. Can he sleep peacefully? Will he not run about and try to force the wall to get at the gold? Such was my state. I knew that the mother, full of infinite bliss, compared with which all earthly possessions were as nothing, was there, quite close to me. How could I be satisfied with anything else? I had to seek her. I became mad for her." What tremendous faith! What intense conviction that God alone is the source of all bliss. This it was that carried him through and sustained him in many bitter trials and afflictions. The philosopher's stone that turned his sufferings into bright and shining gold of God consciousness. It is to faith such as this that the miracles of the spiritual history of the world in all countries are due. Without a teacher, guide, or helper, with no great knowledge of the scriptures, and even without passing through the prescribed forms of asceticism, Sri Ramakrishna carried everything before him by this adamantine faith and sincere yearning to realize God. Thank you very much.
When we are listening the wonderful, the life sketch, the biography of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, along with that, let us sing the glory of the Lord. In the first page of the paper that you are having, Tumi Brahma Ramakrishna. There is a song we'll sing. Tumi Brahma Ramakrishna. Tumi Krishna, Tumi Ram. Tumi Vishnu, Tumi Jishnu. Prabha Vishnu Pranaram. Tumi Brahma Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna is the Brahman of the Jnani, those who are following the path of knowledge. Again, he is the Krishna, he is the Rama, he is the Vishnu, those who are following the path of devotion. Tumi Brahma Ramakrishna. Tumi Krishna, Tumi Ram. Tumi Vishnu, Tumi Jishnu. Prabha Vishnu Pranaram. Tumi Brahma Ramakrishna. Tumi Adheyo Adhara. Tumi Brahma Nirakara. Tumi Adheyo Adhara. You are the container and you are the contained. Tumi Adheyo Adhara. Tumi Brahma Nirakara. Tumi Nara Rupadhara. Bijita Kanaka Kam. When we take the human form or any body, that proves that we have desire. And the desire means kama. But Sri Ramakrishna, though he has taken the human form, bijita kama. So he was not having any desire. So that is the speciality, the difference. Tumi Brahma Ramakrishna. Tumi Krishna, Tumi Ram. Apar Karuna Sindhu. Tumi Deva Dinabandhu. Apar Karuna Sindhu. The ocean of compassion. Apar Karuna Sindhu. Tumi Deva Dinabandhu. Jache Indu Kripa Bindu. Indu is the composer, the poet. Yache Indu Kripa Bindu. Charane Kari Pranam. And let us sing together. Tumi Brahma Ramakrishna. Together. Tumi Brahma Ramakrishna. Tumi Krishna. Tumi Ram. Tumi Vishnu. Tumi Jishnu. Prabha Vishnu Pranaram. Tumi Brahma Ramakrishna.
Maharaj, Maharaj.
Now, Debashish Chakravarty will read the third episode of Sri Ramakrishna's life. Debashish Chakravarty, he was born in Calcutta. After receiving high school, he attended IIT Kharagpur for agricultural engineering. After graduating in 1966, he came to the USA and got his master's from the University of Nebraska. From 1968 to 2014, he worked in the areas of farm and heavy equipment. Retiring in 2015, he moved to Chicago, and he's been very active here at the center. So, Debashish Chakravarty.
Namaskar. So far, we heard about the earlier stages of Sri Ramakrishna's sadhana, and this piece is about the environment after that stage that existed around him. The advent of a spiritual genius like Sri Ramakrishna augured well for the regeneration of India. No other period of her history, India was threatened with such utter ruins as in the middle of the last century. This piece was written 100 years earlier, so it would be 19th century. Various disruptive forces were about to extinguish her ancient culture and civilization. This was manifest in all phases of her life: social, political, and economic. Religion, the backbone of Indian life, had been forgotten, and the worst propensities of human nature, sloth, hatred, sham, and sensuality, took its place and paved the way for the rankest materialism. For a moment, everything seemed to be lost. But the safety of the world demanded that India must live. Its philosophy should be as a heaven of peace for world-tossed souls. To prepare herself for this great task, she needed spiritual reorganization. Nothing less than a spiritual giant like Sri Ramakrishna could do this. To quote a Brahmo writer, a living evidence of the depth and sweetness of Hindu religion is this good and holy man. He has wholly controlled his flesh. He is full of soul, full of the reality of religion, full of joy, full of blessed purity. As a Siddha Hindu ascetic, he is a witness of the falsehood and emptiness of the world. His witness appeals to the profoundest heart of every Hindu. He has no other thought, no other occupation, no other relation, no other friend in his humble life than his God. That God is more than sufficient for him. His spotless holiness, his deep, unspeakable blessedness, his unstudied, endless wisdom, his childlike peacefulness and affection toward all men, his consuming, all-absorbing love for God are his only reward. In these beautiful lines is summed up the greatness of Sri Ramakrishna. Thus, at a most critical moment of Indian history, a messenger from heaven came to bring about India's renaissance. By instinct, as it were, the genius of the nation knew that its savior was come. It sent men of renunciation by the hundred to fill their cups at the overflowing fountain of spirituality at Dakshineshwar. They sat at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna and heard from his lips the tidings of another world. Every man of whatever denomination found in him the fulfillment of his own ideal. He showered his treasures unstinkedly on them. Himself a sadhaka of the highest type, he guided different people along their respective paths without upsetting their modes of thought or trying to make them think alike. All great teachers do this. They supplement but do not supplant. By their own sadhana, they revive forgotten spiritual truths and again proclaim them to the world according to the needs of the time. And the great prophet of India realized that the different forms of her religion, promulgated by her ancient sages, are but so many gems in the crown of Indian spirituality. complementary, not antagonistic. And having demonstrated for himself that the truth is the basis of all religious methods, he proclaimed the message to the new era: devotion to one's own ideal and sympathy for all others. Among the many devotees and scholars who came in contact with Sri Ramakrishna at different periods, some took initiation from him, others were benefited in different ways by his influence, as we have seen in the cases of Vaishnav Charan and Gauri Pandit. The latter was deeply impressed by the experience of his first visit to Sri Ramakrishna. Some years later, around 1870, we find him back again at Dakshineshwar, studying at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna. The spirit of renunciation began to dominate his life. Disgusted with scholarship, prestige, and powers, he was gradually realizing that devotion to God was the only thing worthwhile in the world, and he determined to consecrate his life to realizing him. All his former love of argument and debate was gone. He realized the folly of dissipating his energy thus, instead of using it in search of truth. He had allowed many opportunities to slip by. Now he was determined to devote every moment of the few years left to God realization. Thank you.
Aji Premanande Monre Gaho Ramakrishna Naam. The second song. Aji Premanande Monre Gaho Ramakrishna Naam. Premanande Monre Gaho Ram Krishna Naam. Gaho Ram Krishna Naam. Jap Ram Krishna Naam. Naam Shudha पाने रहो. मत अविराम. राम कृष्ण नाम. Let us sing the name of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. Kamaro pukuro holo, Punna Braja Dham. The Braja where Bhagavan Krishna advented, and Kamar Pukur, Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. Kamaro pukuro holo, Punna Braja Dham. Shakha gana loye khele, Leela Abhiram. There the God is playing with his friends constantly. কামার পুকুর হলো পূর্ণ ব্রজধাম, সখাগণ লয়ে খেলে লীলা বিরাম, যেন মানস মুকুরে ভাসে। This is reflecting in my mind. Manasa mukura. Manasa means mind. Yana manasa mukure bhashe. She chobi shutam. Ramakrishna naam. আজি প্রেমানন্দে মন রে গাহো রামকৃষ্ণ নাম। রামকৃষ্ণ নমো নমো চন্দ্রমণি, Namo Khudiram. Chandramani is the mother of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, and actual pronunciation should be Shudiram, but in Bengali they say Khudi, the father. Chandramani is the mother, Shudiram is the father. Namo Namo Chandramani. Namo Shudiram. Kripamoyi Ma Janani, Laho Go Pranam. Jai Ram Bati Ramati, Chandana Shaman, Amar Ma Jananir Janmo Bhumi, Mahatirthasthan. The in-between Jairambati and Kamar Pukurity is only 6 kilometers, not very far, the two villages. In the center place, a function was going on, the village Jatra. And there the young Sri Ramakrishna, he was sitting along with the boys, as is the system in India. The ladies, the girls, they sit separately and the boys separately. And the mother was hardly 3 or 4 years old. She was sitting on the lap of a lady, and jokingly that lady asked that young girl, all those young boys are sitting over there, whom you like to marry? And that little girl, putting her small little finger, he pointed Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. And this, afterwards again, when Sri Ramakrishna, his parents, the mother and the great senior brother, they were searching for a girl, he himself said, go to Jairambati and there you will find my match. So it is Kuto Madhaj, it is marked for me. Jairambati Ramati, Chandana Shaman, Amar Ma Jananir Janmo Bhumi, মহাতীর্থস্থান মায়ের চরণে শরণ নিলে পুরে মনস্কাম রামকৃষ্ণ নাম আজি প্রেমানন্দে মন রে গাহো রামকৃষ্ণ নাম।
And now our fourth devotee, Dr. Arvind Sistla. He has been a professor in computer science at the University of Illinois, Chicago since 1991. He performs research and teaches on topics in computer science. He's been coming to the Chicago Vedanta Center since 1991. Before that, from 1979 to 1991, he was in the Boston area in Massachusetts for education as well as an employee. During that period, he was visiting the Boston Vedanta Center when Swami Sarvagatananda was in charge of the center. So we welcome now Dr. Sistla is going to read the final episode of the life of Sri Ramakrishna.
This is from the book Life of Sri Ramakrishna, published by Advaita Ashram. And these episodes are during the last months when Sri Ramakrishna spent at Kasipur Garden House. And he was suffering from throat cancer. When everything failed to bring about the recovery of the Master, the Holy Mother wanted to try spiritual methods. She went to Tarakeshwar to obtain the grace of Lord Shiva for her husband's cure. She lay prostrate before the temple, praying, resolved not to touch food till her prayer was answered. On the second night, she was startled by a crashing noise. A great spiritual spirit of renunciation overcame her, and she thought, what are earthly relationships? Are they not mere dreams? She rose and returned to Kasipur. As soon as the Master saw her, he asked, well, what is the result of your mission? The Holy Mother told him what has happened. He seemed to have expected it. The zeal of the young devotees, particularly of Narendranath, for realization was increasing. One day, his brother disciples missed him and two others. Subsequently, it was found that, spurred on by immortal example of Lord Buddha, he with Tarak and Kali had gone to Bodh Gaya, dressed in ochre cloth, to practice austerities. It was feared that he might not return. His absence was much felt by the other disciples at Kasipur. When others wanted to do the same, the matter was reported to Sri Ramakrishna. He assured all that Narendra, convinced of the futility of searching here and there for religion, would soon come back. As a matter of fact, the party did return after a few days, having enjoyed their stay very much at the place of Buddha's nirvana. Kali, too, was struggling for a realization of the highest truth. No lower phase interested him. A wave of doubt swept over his mind. When he consulted the master about it, he was asked, "Do you believe in God?" Kali said, "No." "Do you believe in religion?" "No," replied the boy frankly. "I do not believe in the Vedas or any scriptures. I do not believe in anything spiritual." The master took these words calmly and said, "Had you spoken like this to an ordinary guru, he would have struck you. Look at Naren. He also passed through the same state of doubt, but he now believes in everything. He sheds tears in the name of Radha and Krishna. Your doubts too will be dispelled shortly, and you will believe in everything." Great as was the devotion of every one of the attendants to Sri Ramakrishna, that of Shashi was by far the most conspicuous. It was unparalleled. Shashi was the very embodiment of service. He was convinced that the service to the Guru was the highest form of religion. He practiced no other spiritual discipline. He knew no other asceticism. Regardless of personal comfort, of food or rest, he was ever at work. His one idea was to alleviate the suffering of the master. He would have given up his life if he thought that would cure him. He had attained perfection through service, so of what use were other forms of disciplines to him? Everyone marveled at his indefatigable energy, his sustained power of endurance, and his boundless love for the master. One day, Gopal Sr. expressed desire to the master to distribute ochre cloths and Rudraksha rosaries among sannyasins. Pointing to his young disciples, Sri Ramakrishna answered, "You won't find better monks than these anywhere. Give your cloths and rosaries to them." Gopal placed a bundle of ochre cloths before the master, who distributed them among his young disciples. One cloth was left, and the master ordered it to be preserved for Girish, who was second to none in his spirit of renunciation. One evening, the master made the young boys go through a ceremony and permitted them to receive food from the houses of all, irrespective of caste. Thus, it was that the disciples were initiated into the monastic order by the master himself, and the foundation of the future Ramakrishna order was laid. Thank you.
Sri Ramakrishna founded the Ramakrishna mission. He gave the ochre cloth, and as is the tradition of the Hindu sannyasi, if someone is giving a sannyasi giving an ochre cloth to someone, then he becomes another sannyasi. The sannyasa ceremony, of course, it is there, but mainly it is the symbol is the ochre cloth. Sri Ramakrishna himself distributed among his direct disciples, whose pictures are here. You can find at my back all these direct disciples. They received the Gerua from Sri Ramakrishna. This Ramakrishna mission is a little unique. Of course, there are a lot of the traditional sannyasins are there, but here the Vedanta in practice. Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, he said, if you can see God by closing your eyes within your heart, can't you see God with open eyes? Because the Vedanta says, Ishavashyamidam sarvam, Each and everything that you see is nothing but the manifestation of the same Brahman. So this is the practical Vedanta, application of the Vedanta. And Swami Vivekananda afterwards introduced that karma yoga, and he said, go and serve the poor, the downtrodden, the illiterate, the oppressed. They are the living gods and goddesses, living gods and goddesses. And he said, it is a sin to call a man sinner. As a revolution came, a complete change came. So this is the uniqueness of Sri Ramakrishna, Ramakrishna mission. So we will sing another song while they are getting ready for the Arati. At the time of Arati, we all will sing Ramakrishna Sharanam. Many of you know. The third song, Jaya Ramakrishna, Ramakrishna, Bolo Amar Mon. This is called Kirtan. Kirtan is a very special of Bengal. The Kirtan, Jaya Ramakrishna, Ramakrishna, Bolo Amar Mon. Jaya Ramakrishna, Jugo Avatar Jini Purna Brahma Narayan. Aha Jugo Avatar Jini Purna Brahma Narayan. Ramakrishna, Ramakrishna, Bolo Amar Mon. Jiva Dukkhete Kator, Dhari Naro Kalebar, Barangbar Avatar Jagat Ishar. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord Krishna promised that again and again I will come. And he said to Arjuna that I come again and again, but you can't recognize me. So every time the God is coming and taking different form, different name, and in different places he is manifesting to help the people to proceed towards God. Jiva Dukkhete Kator, Dhari Naro Kalebar, Barangbar Avatar Jagat Ishar. Barangbar Amon Madhur Jaghana E Murati, Amon Madhur Jaghana E Murati, Jita Kamini Kanchan. Ramakrishna, Ramakrishna, Bolo Amar Mon. Jaya Jaya Ramakrishna, Ramakrishna, Bolo Amar Mon. Jaya Purva Purva Avatar, Elo Kalang Se Jahar, Swayam Se Dakshineshware Eseche Ebar, Eseche Ebar, Purva Purva Avatar, Elo Kalang Se Jahar, Swayam Se Dakshineshware Eseche Ebar, Share Eseche. Esu Chokku Meleche Dekho, পাবে রে নব জীবন। ওরে চক্ষু মেলেছে দেখো, পাবে রে নব জীবন। রামকৃষ্ণ রামকৃষ্ণ বলো আমার মন, জয় রামকৃষ্ণ। যুগ অবতার যিনি পূর্ণ ব্রহ্ম নারায়ণ, যুগ রামকৃষ্ণ রামকৃষ্ণ বলো আমার মন, জয় রাম। রামকৃষ্ণের কৃপায় বিবেকানন্দ বিলায়, ভক্তি মুক্তি বিনা মূল্যে কে নিবিড়ে আয়। রামকৃষ্ণের কৃপায় বিবেকানন্দ বিলায়, ভক্তি মুক্তি বিনা মূল্যে কে নিবিড়ে আয়। রামকৃষ্ণ বলে নাও রে তুলে, যার যত হয় প্রয়োজন। রামকৃষ্ণ বলে নাও রে তুলে, যার যত হয় প্রয়োজন। ধর্ম অর্থ কাম মোক্ষ, যার যত হয় প্রয়োজন। রামকৃষ্ণ বলে নাও রে তুলে, যার যত হয় প্রয়োজন। রামকৃষ্ণ বলে নাও রে তুলে, যার যত হয় প্রয়োজন। রামকৃষ্ণ বলে নাও রে তুলে, রামকৃষ্ণ বলে নাও রে তুলে, যার যত হয় প্রয়োজন। ধর্ম অর্থ কাম মোক্ষ, যার যত হয় প্রয়োজন। ধর্ম অর্থ রামকৃষ্ণ রামকৃষ্ণ বলো আমার মন, জয় রাম। যুগ অবতার যিনি পূর্ণ ব্রহ্ম নারায়ণ, রামকৃষ্ণ রামকৃষ্ণ বলো আমার মন, জয় রামকৃষ্ণ। জয় রামকৃষ্ণ রামকৃষ্ণ বলো আমার মন। রামকৃষ্ণ শরণং রামকৃষ্ণ শরণং রামকৃষ্ণ শরণং শরণ্যে। জয় জয় রামকৃষ্ণ। प्रभु कृपा ही केवलम, कृपा ही केवलम, कृपा ही केवलम शरण्ये। प्रभु कृपा ही जय जय राम कृष्ण शरणम, राम कृष्ण शरणम, राम कृष्ण शरणम शरण्ये। प्रभु कृपा ही केवलम, कृपा ही केवलम, कृपा ही केवलम शरण्ये। प्रभु कृपा ही केवलम, कृपा ही केवलम कृपा ही केवलम शरण्ये। जय जय राम कृष्ण शरण। नमः श्री गुरवे, नमः श्री गुरवे, नमः श्री गुरवे नमो नमो। नमः श्री गुरवे, नमः श्री गुरवे, नमः श्री गुरवे नमो नमो। नमः कृष्ण शरणम। नमः श्री गुरवे, नमः श्री गुरवे, नमः श्री गुरवे नमो नमो। नमः श्री गुरवे। जय जय राम कृष्ण शरणम, राम कृष्ण शरणम, राम कृष्ण शरणम शरण्ये। शरणागत हम, शरणागत हम, शरणागत हम शरण्ये। प्रभु शरणागत हम। जय जय राम कृष्ण शरणम, राम कृष्ण शरणम, राम कृष्ण शरणम शरण्ये। नमः श्री गुरवे, नमः श्री गुरवे, नमः श्री गुरवे नमो नमो। नमः श्री गुरवे। जय जय राम कृष्ण शरणम, राम कृष्ण शरणम, राम कृष्ण शरणम शरण्ये। शरणागत हम, शरणागत हम, शरणागत हम शरण्ये। प्रभु शरणागत हम। जय जय राम कृष्ण शरणम, राम कृष्ण शरणम, राम कृष्ण शरणम शरण्ये। राम कृष्ण शरणम, राम कृष्ण शरणम, राम कृष्ण शरणम शरण्ये। राम कृष्ण शरणम, राम कृष्ण शरणम, राम कृष्ण शरणम शरण्ये। राम कृष्ण जय जय, राम कृष्ण जय जय, राम कृष्ण जय जय, राम कृष्ण राम कृष्ण जय जय, राम कृष्ण जय, राम कृष्ण जय जय, राम कृष्ण जय जय, राम कृष्ण शरणम, राम कृष्ण शरणम, राम कृष्ण शरणम शरण्ये। प्रभु कृपा ही केवलम, कृपा ही केवलम, कृपा ही केवलम शरण्ये। प्रभु कृपा ही केवलम, कृपा ही केवलम, कृपा ही केवलम शरण्ये। Jai Jai Ramakrishna Sharan, Ramakrishna Sharanam, Ramakrishna Sharanam, Sharane. Jai Jai Ramakrishna Sharan, Ramakrishna Sharanam, Ramakrishna Sharanam, Sharane. Jai Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna Dev Ki, Jai Mahamai Ki, Jai Swami Ji Maharaj Ji Ki. You have got the flower, all of you? So, I will utter this mantra and then 3 times you just repeat after me. Sangaya, Swavarnaya, Sashaktikaya, Saparshadaya, Sarvadeva Devi, Swarupaya, Ramakrishnaya, Boshat. Again. Sangaya, Savarnaya, Sashaktikaya, Saparshadaya, Sarvadeva Devi, Sarupaya, Ramakrishnaya, Boshat, Sangaya, Savarnaya, Sashaktikaya, Saparshadaya, Sarvadeva Devi, Sarupaya, Ramakrishnaya, Boshat. Now, pranam mantra. Sthapakaya cha dharmasya, sarvadharma sarupine, avatara varisthaya, Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Om Shanti, 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 Harihi Om. Now, quietly, you please pray for some time, and our volunteers will go and collect the flowers, and that will be offered to Thakur. But you pray to Thakur quietly. পঞ্চবটিতে ভোরের আলোয় পাখিরা গায় গান। রাম কৃষ্ণ রাম কৃষ্ণ রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম পাখিরা গায় গান। In the early morning when the sun was rising, then the poet is thinking all the birds, they are singing, and they are singing the name of Sri Ramakrishna. In the Panchavati, the 5 great trees under which Sri Ramakrishna practiced meditation on the bank of the Ganga in Dakshineshwar. Panchavati bhorer aloy পাখিরা গায় গান। রাম কৃষ্ণ রাম কৃষ্ণ রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম প্রভাত রবির কিরণে যেমন অন্ধকারের ক্ষয় শ্রীরামকৃষ্ণ শরণে মননে প্রাণের মুক্তি হয়। When the sun rises, the darkness dispel, darkness go away. Similarly, when we are remembering the holy name of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, all our shortfalls, all our ignorance also go away. প্রভাত রবির কিরণে যেমন অন্ধকারের ক্ষয় শ্রীরামকৃষ্ণ শরণে মননে প্রাণের মুক্তি হয়। অন্তরলোক সে শুভ আলোকে করে আনন্দ স্নান। রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম পঞ্চবটিতে ভোরের আলোয় পাখিরা গায় গান। ওরে ও পথিক তীর্থযাত্রী কোথা খুঁজিস দেবতারে চোখ মেলে দেখ দক্ষিণেশ্বরে ভবতারিণীর দ্বারে সকাল সন্ধ্যা আলোকানন্দা পান কর নাম সুধা হৃদয় বিনায় বাজুক শেতান ঘুচে যাক ক্ষুধা তৃষা। Every morning and evening go on repeating the name of Sri Ramakrishna and all your desires will go away and you will be free. জগতের গুরু তিনি কল্পতরু কাঙালেরও ভগবান। রাম কৃষ্ণ নাম পঞ্চবটিতে ভোরের আলোয় পাখিরা gaye gan. Ramakrishna, Ramakrishna, Ramakrishna Nam.